Welcome to a special edition of the AI Lab Unfiltered podcast, where we take a deep dive into different tools and different AI technologies. This is a special edition episode that we've got going. I've got Mr. Alex Mead and Pete Terryn with me as always. I am Drew Veach from BizStream, joined by my co-host Pete Terryn from New Wave.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me, Drew.
We're always awkward in this, and now that we're on camera, it's totally different again. Just want to welcome everybody for joining us on this. What we wanted to do a special episode where we pull out a specific tool that really talk more about agentic workflows and automated workflows using AI. We get regularly asked all the time, what tool do you use for this, to make graphics? What tool are you using to run through your emails? What tool are you using for building websites? So we want to take a deeper dive and kind of pull one of those out. We're going to talk specifically about AI automation and how to build a workflow. And we have a working workflow that Alex is going to show us what he built. We're kind of going to walk through all those steps so it makes sense to our audience. We're not going to have the high-tech talk like normal. We're going to talk through and we're going to explain how this automation works. If you have a specific tool that you would like to see, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear that. We like that feedback so we can kind of tailor these episodes to exactly what you're looking for.
So you can just start off by going to n8n.io, so we can share that in the show notes. But it's kind of like all your classic web tools. You can sign in. They have a bunch of different ways to sign in. I've already signed in here, so I'm actually just going to cancel that and go to the tab next to it here. The page you're going to land on here is kind of this overview page. Can you guys see my screen all right?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. So you're going to land here on this overview page, and this is where you actually have your projects. So you can create a workflow is kind of the term for a project here. So you can create a new one here, and just kind of go through the process like that. But what I've actually already done is prepared us one. And first what I'm going to do is show you kind of the target of where we're aiming at, and then we'll actually go through and build it component by component. So what we're going to do is we've got a very straightforward kind of like data pipeline, if you will, where this click over here just starts the thing off. Then we're going to download a meeting transcription file from my Google Drive. Then we're going to use OpenAI's transcription service to change that audio into the actual text file. Then what we're going to do is take that output from that API, which is a thing called a JSON object, which is just a bunch of fancy characters that help computers organize data. And then we're going to actually convert that into a file. And then we're going to take that transcript and upload it back into Google Drive. Now, this is something that I personally do at City Innovations all the time. We do a lot of meeting transcriptions, and we use all the tools like Otter AI and all that as well. But we also have our own process like this. So this is kind of a subset of a much larger data flow that we use. So, are there any questions, real quick? If not, I'm gonna hit the button and we can let this thing roll.
No, that makes sense.
Actually, before I get started, why don't I play for you the audio file? It's a very simple audio testing file right here. So I'll just play that for you guys. And I think it should come through.
Testing.
Is it a high-pitched frequency where I have to raise my hand? Which ear
this
I hear it
is
in?
a test of the City Innovations
Or like that's how you
meeting
determine how old you
transcription
are, because when you get
service
to a certain age,
for
you can't hear
the
certain
AI
pitches.
Lab podcast.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening.
So did you guys hear that or no? No.
Not at all.
Okay.
Nope, I'm old.
So we're gonna have Mr. Producer put that in afterwards, but it's there, and it's basically it says testing 1 2 3. This is the City Innovations transcription service. So it's about 20 seconds long.
Okay.
But basically that file lives here within my Google Drive in this audio upload folder. So when we actually hit the workflow, which is right here, we can click here, it's going to go through the process and it will just go right through. So we'll watch it as it goes. So it just clicked here to start, downloaded the file, transcribing the file, converted it to a file, and now it's uploading it back. So workflow successful. So let's just go back up here. And I just pre-programmed where to drop it. So you can see we're recording here at 4:23 p.m. And if I open that file up, it says, if you guys can read that, it says exactly what it says. Testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a test of the City Innovations meeting transcription service for the AI Lab podcast. Thanks for listening. So what I figured we'd do really quickly is actually just walk through step by step kind of each of these bricks, and then we'll go through and we'll build that thing together as well. Does that sound good?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Makes sense.
So the first thing we're going to do is open up this Google Drive brick, which basically shows, okay, I want to connect to this Google Drive account. I already created one, but you can set your own credentials up there. It's going to be a file. We're going to download it, and then this is the URL where that file is set up. This is saying on the left side, here's the input to this brick, which is when clicking, start the brick off. And then the output of this is the actual file. And you can see again, this is a file here that is an audio file. So up on the top left, we're going to go back. So that, once this brick executes, it downloads a file. So we can click on that and it's downloading it. Node executed. Now we're going to go here to OpenAI, open up this one. This is again where you would connect in and set up your credentials like that. The input is now obviously the output of the brick before it. And then this is actually going to do the transcription. So when we click here, execute step, this is actually going, hitting an OpenAI API, and then returning the transcribed text. We go back here.
Okay.
Yep. The final step locally, right, or within the actual browser is going to take that text and then make it into like an actual file. So now we have this file.txt. We can view the content of it there, and you can see that's the file that we ultimately see back on Google Drive. And then the final step, if we open this here, you can see there's that file that we have locally. We execute it, and it uploads it up to Google Drive. And if we go back here just again, and we can see here, that was just that latest one right there. So it repeated the process. So what I'm going to do right now is kind of go back to the overview and actually show you guys step by step how we actually built that. So it's super straightforward. You start here with a blank canvas, and then you can name it up here. So we just called it, the AI Lab Unfiltered. We can add podcast to the name.
Alex, while you're just one thing,
Yeah.
is you mentioned start with a blank canvas. There are tons of templates that are out there too, and actually I think we might be talking about that a little bit later for those of you that want to stick around and see that part, but
Yeah.
you don't have to start with zero.
Yeah, that's a great point, Pete. Why don't I just quickly open up this tab down here in the top left, or the bottom left. These are, you can see there's 3,711 templates, and they range all from, building your own agent to, pulling data from services, all sorts of different things. And you can use this kind of smart search feature here. So maybe you want to do something with Gmail. There's 400 of them that, bring in Gmail. So that's a really great point. Yeah. Cool.
And that's the cool thing. You don't have to be a developer to know that. I mean, you're starting with a template. You're starting with something that's already there, and you tweak a couple things and say, yep, there, now it's tapped into my system.
Exactly. So we will click here, and this is where you can search for all the different types of little bricks or little boxes to drag in. It just so happens that the manual trigger one pops up right at the beginning, so we're just going to drop that one in. If you want to rename it something customized, you can click on these three little dots, and you can say like rename. So like, when clicking, so we could just say maybe, transcribe audio. Click here. this one example, but you can do whatever you want. Then we're going to go back up here to this plus button, and now we're going to actually search a little bit. So we're going to say Drive. So you can see these are all of the blocks that are in the Google Drive category. So I expand that, and you can see these are all the different types of actions that are pre-baked in. This comes already ready to go with N8N. So what we're going to do is we're going to say download a file. Click that one. And now this is that exact same field that we saw earlier. So I've already connected it to my Google Drive account, so that's why it's here. But if you want to connect it yourself, you can click here. And then it uses this OAuth 2, which is a very common kind of connection service. One thing that's really cool about N8N is you can click on this Ask Assistant button, and it will literally use like an AI chatbot to give you the instructions. And what's really cool about this one is they spent a lot of time like actually dialing these in, so they're like always right, which is super helpful.
Well, and it's baked into N8N, which is nice, because I was going to mention that too, that if you don't know what OAuth 2 is, that's okay. You don't have to, again, you don't have to be an engineer. I know you are, Alex,
Yeah.
but I know most people, you don't have to be an engineer to know what all these terms are. You can easily just look it up.
Exactly.
Just look it up. And this one's nice because it has it baked in. So you can ask it right away. Like, what am I supposed to click on if I'm building this? What do each of these mean? Which one's appropriate?
Yeah, exactly. And it takes you through, just like you said, Drew, step by step. Like, do you even have a Google Cloud account? Okay, set that up. You know, you're going to check this box. You're going to go down, and that actually is all the drop-down menus, exactly where it is, all the way to the end, and it tells you exactly what to copy and paste exactly.
Exactly.
So
nice.
So we've already set ours up, though. So what we are going to do is we're going to keep. Oh no, we do not want to save that because we already have the Google connected. The resource we're trying to access is a file. The operation we're going to do is, as opposed to like a file in a folder or a whole folder or an entire drive, where you can actually use custom build outs as well. Google Drive is one of these incredibly complex products. So we're just going to say resource. We're going to download a file. The operation here is download. We could copy it. We could do all sorts of things. What we're going to do is we're just going to say from URL. So we're going to get the actual URL of this audio file here. So this is just in my Google Drive account. I click on these three dots. I click share, and I click copy link. Then I come back in, and I just drop that. Now, what's also kind of cool is this actually will do like a quick check for you that that's actually real. So like if we were to go here and like change a few things, right? It'll give us an error. Is it gonna do that for us? Oh, reload. Maybe it will do that for us now. But literally it was giving me, oh no, I just lost it. Okay. That's all right. We'll quickly. I do remember that now, that it will from URL. Click there.
If memory serves me correct, the first time I used make.com, I had to rebuild it 6 different times.
Thank you for that.
All user error. It has nothing to do with make.com. It was all user error trying to figure it out. So
Totally. So click the save up here. I do recall that. You have to save it. So basically it does this. It goes through now, and we can actually execute this, and it should in theory download that file, and it is looking for it, and it found the file exactly the way that we thought about it. So now we're going to go back to the canvas, and we're going to build the next link in our chain. So we come back here to the search bar, which is that plus, and now I'm just going to search OpenAI. So for example, right here, I'm going to click on this arrow, and this is going to give me all of the options that I have through the OpenAI block. And I'm going to click on this one, transcribe a recording. Now, notice how it kind of automatically connected there. If you don't have any information here, like for example, if it gets deleted, like this, you can always just come back to the main screen, and you can drag and drop this connection like that to reconnect it. And again, you can rename it, here if you wanted to rename it something else, like, maybe you want to call it OpenAI API instead of transcribing for some reason. Let's double click on that again. Again, we've already set up our OpenAI account, but if you didn't, you could click here on create credentials, and then you'd go to the OpenAI website, put in the key, put in your organizational ID. And again, like Drew said, this is all really straightforward. If you can just follow the instructions, it makes it very, 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 very straightforward. It's like everything. If you get a little frustrated, just walk away for a little bit and then come back, and you'll have a new patience to attempt after it. So cool. So, but again, we've already done that process. So we're going to click there. We are going to use an audio resource. We are using the transcribe a recording operation. Now this is where it can get a little tricky. So this data right here needs to be matched from here. So this is saying whatever data gets fed to my input, I want it to get, that's what I actually want to process. This can sometimes get a little tricky if you've got more than one kind of arrow going in there, but this is where you would figure that out. So now we'll just hit execute just to test it.
I like how you're doing execute on all these steps too. I think that's an important piece when you're building this. Don't string together 400 things and then go.
Yeah.
It'll tell you where the errors are in each one. I get that, but that is frustrating versus step by step, connect the next one, test it, connect the next one, test it.
Yeah.
It just, you're building upon a good foundation at that point.
Totally.
I think, which is really helpful to keep your frustration level down.
Yeah, totally. And another tip, thanks for pointing that out, Drew. And another tip too is to use like test data. So for example, this is a 20-second audio file. Use a short audio file. Don't use like an hour-long audio file, because all that's going to do is take the execution time for that, transcription from OpenAI and make it from maybe, a 4 or 5 second query to like a 1 minute query. And that just takes longer to debug, exactly.
And it costs more, right? Because the way that the API call works, it's on the amount of tokens that you're sending. It's not part of your flat subscription, that you pay your. Most people are paying $20 a month, unless you're Alex and you're super power user.
Calling me out again.
But the larger the file that you're going to send, because it's making an API call, it can be more expensive. So definitely test with less data, so it's less expensive for you.
That's a great point, Pete. Exactly. This is like when you set this up, this is an API key that you provision from OpenAI, and it is a direct correlation with, it's totally usage based. It's not a flat fee type thing. So that's a really good point. Yeah.
And I think just to quick explain it, because we all know what tokens even are, but a lot of people are going, what the hell is a token? What are you guys talking about? It's token is how the AI reads and processes the language that you're putting in. And the more you write, this is in its simplest form. The more you write, the more tokens get used. It's not exactly a 1 token to 1 word type of scenario, but it's like 5-6 characters long, including punctuation. That costs you a token.
Right.
So if you're writing a paragraph of 50 different words or 200 words, that can add up over time of how much you're outputting. Now it's cents, literally in the 1 and 2 cents and 4 cents per token. So it's not like you're going to hit go and be like, well, that was $20. Let's do it again.
Right.
It's not quite that complex. It's just a way they're monitoring. They're using monetization to monitor how much data usage is going through these machines.
And I don't want anyone watching this to be like, well, now that I know it, I don't want to get a $1,000 bill from OpenAI because I went crazy with the API calls. It's so expensive to do. Like, you can send a lot of data back and forth and be paying pennies, but you can also set spending limits within your account with OpenAI to say, hey, don't go over $20 this month, or 30 or 5 or whatever, and it'll stop. Then you can always up that. So there are guardrails that you can put in place to protect yourself. So don't let that stop you. Like, if you take a little bit of time, you can put some guardrails there and keep those expenses controlled.
Yeah, and I can give you a live example of that. Is at Bitstream we have an internal chatbot system that we use, and there's 45 or 46 of us here. We're constantly barraging this thing, and it costs us for a 1 month period for all of us using it all the time, it costs us $3 to $4 a month. That's it. So it's incredibly cost effective. Now we do have a guardrail in there of, we call it the BizBot, and we have a guardrail in there that says, do I need to reply to this question that's being asked? Because we can get kind of ridiculous with what we ask it. So a lot of times it'll say, I'm not replying, or it just won't do anything on purpose to keep that down. But at the same time, there's a lot of info that we pull out of that, and it's $3-4 a month. So definitely worth building. Definitely worth the endeavor. Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah, and there can be, you bring a really good point. There's a lot of limits, throughout this system, because you're basically with N8N, you're linking together a bunch of individual services, right? So like you might hit a limit with Google Drive, you might hit a limit with OpenAI, you might hit a limit with your own internal system, right? So there's a lot of different places to kind of keep your eye on, for sure.
And each of those systems have their own subscription as well,
Exactly.
depending on what it is. Most of the stuff that, at least I've been stringing together, stuff that I'm already using, like Gmail and stuff like that. So I've already got this. I'm going to use it either way.
Right.
So.
Exactly. So beautiful.
All right, not to derail.
No. These are all, I think, really helpful things. Let's go back to the canvas then. And now you can see, if you hold down Command on a Mac or Control on a Windows machine, then you can click and then move the whole screen to your left. We're going to go back here to our search menu, and we're going to search File, and we're going to click on this one, Convert to File. So this, so if we go here, Convert to a text file, we're going to click on that one. So this is an example where maybe if you have a little bit of a background in programming, it might make a little bit more sense, where you're like, why can't I just do this, right? Why can't I just go, the final step here is going to be Drive, and where is it? Upload file here, like that. Why can I not just do this, right? And so the reason, really quickly, is because OpenAI outputs just a bunch of text, right? Because it's an actual API. And Google Drive is expecting files. It's not expecting text. And you'd be like, well, isn't just text part of a file? And it's like, yes, exactly. But that's why you need this kind of extra conversion step in here. So you first need to take the output from the API, convert it to a file, and then upload that file to the Gmail or Google Drive again. So if we open up here, again, this is an example where that data, so I'm actually just going to grab that data, drag and drop. That's where the text is going to come in. It's going to output like that, and then we can execute this, and then boom, it made that file. And then now let's go back, and we'll do the final step here in linking up our Google Drive. Again, we've already done the Google Drive. It's the same account as before. For a resource, we're dealing with a file. For the operation, we're going to upload it. Again, it's that data input. And then here, this is where we can actually name the file. So we could say like, transcription of meeting.txt. From a list here, you can see this is just using my top drive there. File folder, I'm just going to have it dump in the root. And then again, we can execute this step. And the magic crank, and boom, that's an appropriate response. So node executed. And again, if I go back up here and I go back to my root drive, boom, transcription of meeting. I open it, and that's that same meeting. So this is kind of the high level, end-to-end flow of what I've got for you guys. And obviously, you can do a million different permutations of this with all sorts of different blocks. And really customize it to your workflow. There's a huge expressiveness that you can do with the tools. So I don't know, maybe we can, pause or open for questions, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think when you start thinking about, okay, this is, thanks for sharing this, but how, what can I do with this if I'm watching and came here to learn about N8N and what I can do with it. I mean, it's impossible to say all the things you can do, because it truly is unlimited. Your creativity is the only thing holding you back here. So if you want to transcribe meetings at work, this is a way to do it. Of course, you have to record it, but it could be that transcript or that file could be from anything, right? That you could be recording it from your phone. You have a WAV file and upload that and transcribe that. There could be other triggers too. So as I'm looking at this, I'm kind of thinking about maybe little alternatives at each step and things to talk about. So the trigger in the beginning doesn't have to even be a manual trigger that you have to press a button to execute. It could be if an email comes in with this subject line, or if anybody uploads a file to this folder, have that be the trigger, so you don't have to go in and manually execute the trigger to transcribe. It could be anytime a new file comes into this folder, automatically transcribe it and re-upload it or upload it to a different folder.
Yeah.
You could add some things to it too, like, okay, now that, let's say you've got your original work. Yeah, there's the Google.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the man. So that now you've got something that now I can be hands off. I don't have to be spending my time watching this folder to see if there's a new file in there. It can just be whenever something comes in, automatically do that. You could also, on the end of that, have another API call to OpenAI and ask it to evaluate the transcripts. Let's say it was a meeting transcript. You could have an OpenAI call that says, hey, I want you to act as a manager of this team. Give this meeting a review and gauge it on this obviously isn't a real meeting transcript, so that you wouldn't be able to get a good output from this, but you could ask the agent to act as an evaluator of the meeting, and you can say, hey, Drew talked too much, or you guys didn't you guys avoided any and all conflict and didn't really get to the heart of the issue in this meeting. If you start to think in those kind of terms, you're essentially automating parts of, if that's your role, or if you weren't able to make the meeting, because you can't sit in on every meeting that the company has, but you want to know what's going on, you could ask for just a summary or an evaluation of the meeting or whatever it is. And you
could add in stuff like next step type stuff in your workflow. We did this meeting, I sent it out. There was a couple of action items in there. One of them was to set up the follow-up meeting. Go on my calendar, find some open times, send that out to everybody. You'd have a feedback loop in there saying, hey, send it to me on Slack so I can approve those times first. And then that sends out to everybody to schedule that next meeting. So you're not going, shit, I still got all my action items. I got to go back in there and I got to look at it and set those all up. You can literally have that set up and reach out into your Google Calendar or your Microsoft Calendar and an Outlook and pick those times, send it out to everybody, and just have it follow up on that next step.
It
really is how to make your life a hell of a lot easier. It really is.
The reason this is front of mind for me is Microsoft's Copilot. They have a Copilot Studio that you can do similar things. To me, it's not as, I'm a huge fan of N8N, and this is what I recommend to people, and I talk about the most, and I brought it up on the podcast several times. But within Copilot Studio, I was messing around in there because a lot of our clients are Microsoft clients, and I know that it's going to do a good job with things that are Microsoft related. So I had it looking for, there's an email report that I get every morning that I need to look at to make sure that our clients are getting good backups. But it's boring work that if I could automate it, I would. So there's a workflow in my Microsoft Copilot that looks for it's the same email subject line every time. So it looks for that, and when it sees that, it can look at the attachment of the email, which is super cool. And it can, because it does OCR, what is that, object content recognition?
Optical character recognition, yeah.
Optical character recognition.
I had the OCR part right. But it can look, and it can look for things because it's an Excel file that it comes into, and it's color coded. There's red if the backup fails or whatever, and it can look for those things, and it can tell me, hey, look for this one. So there's some, and I've considered expanding that too to say, could it see that and then email me and say, look at these, or multiple people in the organization, or send it to the team that handles those backups without me even having to get involved, which I haven't done that part yet, is to have it act on my behalf, and if it sees something that needs attention, just fire it right over. So I just haven't got there with it yet, but those are some, to me, to take this idea and expand it. Think of it like having an intern, and you want that intern to do the menial things that you don't want to do, that's what interns are for, right? Well, what if you didn't have to worry about an intern doing it? If you can tell an intern to do it, you can probably tell N8N to do it for you if you take the time. And if you have that mentality of like hiring and training a new person to your organization, you take that same level of care and that same level of time, you can probably automate it using N8N.
100%. I 100% agree with that, man.
Yeah, and I think just to expand on that, you don't have to be a set it and forget it. Like you can get a workflow going and then be like, hey, I thought about a new, end stage on that, or I thought about a different way to rewrite the prompt. So these things, you can edit them too, right, and update them continuously.
And I just continue to expand on that too, and I think we've talked about this a few times in the past. I believe, and this isn't like my original idea. I'm parroting things that I've seen when I'm following the news on where this is going, is that what you're seeing on your screen now expanded are going to be the new employees in organizations. And we, as employees, as the human employees of that organization, are going to be managing these agentic workflows. So I might not be doing this work in the future. I'm just going to be checking in just like you would any employee and making sure that it's doing it right, making sure things glitch and mistakes happen and workflows break. And if you have a workflow that's going and looking at a website, maybe they change that website and it breaks it. So then you got to go address that and make the changes and things like that. But I really think that, and again, I'm not the only one that thinks this, but that this is the future of AI work, is us managing these AI agents that are doing this work on our behalf.
So what you're saying, Pete, is all of these are going to replace everybody's job in the future, the very near future, and we're all screwed. Add your comments below. Send hate mail to Pete. No.
I think that it's no different than scaling your business by adding people to it. So this is the example. This is where I would like to see it go. Is, as an organization, let's say you've got 50 employees and you can handle, let's just say $10 million in revenue with 50 employees. Imagine that you could continue to expand your enterprise and you could handle $15 million in revenue with those same 50 people, because they don't have to do these tasks anymore.
The remedial tasks. Yeah.
Right. And so now they're doing higher level tasks that are probably augmented with AI, not fully, still managing these agents. But then the work that you are doing is still probably aided by AI in some way, or augmented with AI in some way. I know you know this. I'm not advocating replacing people with AI. I don't want to do that at all. But I do want people's work lives to be easier. Like, what if I didn't have to work a full 8-hour day? What if I could get the same amount of stuff done and I could work a 6-hour day, or whatever it is? Or there's a lot of studies that are supporting a 4-day work week and what that means for people's well-being and things like that. Well, what if we could get the same amount of stuff done and we could all have a 3-day weekend? Like I'd be an advocate for that. And I think there's a
I
certain
do
amount
think this is going to help elevate and evolve our workforce because of that. Just exactly what you said. Like the remedial stuff comes off. It's not necessarily replacing people. It's saying, okay, you can manage that workflow that it can automatically process. In the meantime, now you can focus on strategy. You can focus on higher level items, or just different tasks at that point.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't even have to be a higher level, just different stuff while that's going on in the background. I definitely think that's going to evolve our workforce for those who embrace that.
Yeah.
Which is and the whole reason that we're doing this podcast, right? Is we're
Right.
saying all these things out loud, hoping people will listen, hoping somebody's going to hear this and say, okay, this is now the thing that's going to get me to log into N8N or even create a ChatGPT account if you don't have one,
Exactly.
and finally start to learn a little bit more about this, because I cannot imagine that this is not the future of where this is going. And we just want you all, anyone watching, hearing this, to get into it. It's honestly not that intimidating once you start getting into it. And again, you watch your YouTube videos, go to your subreddits, or talk to a friend that's using AI, ask them to share their screen, or just get involved.
Yeah. I think if I could just comment on that real quick too, it's like, it's like everything, it's a new skill. It takes a little bit of time of getting used to it, and there's just going to be some frustration in that process. I really like your analogy, Pete, of it's like onboarding a new employee, right, or a coworker. There's going to be a little bit of friction, but like at the end of the process, assuming it's a good hire, which AI is, right, you're going to be firing on more cylinders. You're going to be doing more work.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's iteration, just like a new employee too. I don't know. I'm sure there are some interns out there that they learned the first time you told them, and they did it exactly the way that they were supposed to. AI is not going to be perfect like that, because and it's probably your fault, not AI's fault, because you probably didn't give it enough context to do the right job. And it's the same thing with human employees. If you don't give them the right context, and I was just in a meeting about this today. We're talking about giving people the right operating parameters so that they understand what the end goal is and what the best way is to do that job. AI is no different. It's the same thing.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, let's wrap this up. We can turn this into a whole nother episode of where this goes, like future revelations of this, I think. And I think that would be kind of a cool episode now that I'm saying it out loud. But Alex, appreciate you, man. I always love having you on. We always learn something new. I always love how I can adapt this to what I'm building for people and for myself internally. I know Pete's thinking the same thing, because we always talk about these afterwards.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where we can find you again.
You can find me on LinkedIn. Obviously, just search Alex R. Mead. On Twitter, I'm Alex R. Mead, no spaces, nothing like that. I think what could work is also maybe if people have specific questions, they could drop their questions in the comments, and we could potentially use those for future episodes. Like, you mentioned an email tool, both of you guys did, and I'm like, I don't have anything set up for mine. I'm still in the caveman days, I guess. Maybe that would be my comment, would be like, hey, I want to learn more about email automation with these types of tools. Maybe other people could do that too. But yeah, it's always a pleasure with you guys, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I'd also say too, just to add on to what you were saying, if somebody out there has a really cool use case that they're using it currently, we'd love to see that too, because I have the same like FOMO that you do. When I hear somebody or I see a YouTube video of somebody doing something, I'm like, why am I not doing that? And so I'd love to know if there's something cool out there. I'll steal that idea.
Yeah. Something else maybe too is just like, hey, if you're like just hitting your head against the wall trying to get started, just like ping one of us. It's like sometimes.
I was literally going to say
there
that.
You go.
Feel free to reach out to any one of us. We love talking about this. We're happy to walk you through and figure that out with you.
Totally.
Absolutely. We're all on LinkedIn, so absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, gentlemen. This has been fun. Always a pleasure doing this with you guys. And let's see if we get another tool that people want to talk about.
See you, fellas.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and hit like and subscribe if you want to know more, and drop a comment in there of what you liked about this episode, or what you would like to see, what kind of tools you'd like to see, or what you'd like to see a podcast episode on. Thanks, everybody.